Hello guys, how are you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you very much for stopping by. If you've not subscribed to my channel, kindly do so. It will really mean a lot to me. So in this tutorial, we are going to be learning how I made this beautiful lovely shift dress. This is actually a shift dress that went to Harvard. Guys, you need to learn this. All you have to do is to watch till the end so that you won't miss any tips, okay? The one I actually taught you guys is very detailed because I use lining to turn it, so you stand the chance to learn how you can use your lining to turn your shift dress, and not just any regular shift dress you can just close your eyes and make. So guys, all you have to do is to watch till the end so that you can make yours. This is actually a nice shift dress. I just sat down and I thought about this style, and behold, it came out very beautiful. Can you see how beautiful this looks? So guys, watch till the end, and if you have any question, kindly drop it on the comment section. I will attend to that. See you guys. So in this tutorial, we'll be learning how to make that beautiful shift dress you saw on my screen. Okay, and the materials we'll be needing is, you can see the material already. This is a Duchess material. You can improvise yours with a doll face. Okay, then this is a lining. This shift dress will also be having a lining because the material is not that strong, and this will also be having a zip at the center front. This is actually an analysis of this design. So this is where I place the black Duchess. I use the black Duchess for the turn up at the hand, and I also use it for the neckline. Okay, the black Duchess serve as the collar at the neckline, and I also place the black Duchess at the center line beside the zip. Okay, so this pointed stuffs you see here is a cover button. I'm actually going to put a cover button just like you saw on my screen. All right, let's get started. Measurements you need for this tutorial is your shoulder measurement and your hip measurement, hip circumference. This is actually two important measurements for this tutorial because this is actually a free dress. It's not a fitted dress. Okay, the first thing you are going to do is to fold your fabric, and the measurement you are going to use to fold this fabric is your shoulder measurement divided by 2, then plus your sleeve extension. Okay, your shoulder extension. You know, this is actually a shift dress, so it's going to have a cut together sleeve with the bodice. Okay, so the shoulder measurement I'm working with is 16 inches divided by 2. I have 8 inches. Then for the sleeve, I want the sleeve extension to be 7 inches. Okay, so I'm going to do 8 inches plus the 7 inches sleeve extension. I have 15 inches. So I'm going to fold this fabric by 15 inches plus extra 1 inch. This 1 inch I'm adding is just for me to see something that I cut out after drafting this. So guys, I folded my fabric already like I explained to you guys. So I folded my fabric by 17 inches, and the actual measurement I'm working with is 15 inches. Okay, so after folding your fabric, the next thing you are going to do is to come down from the edge of your fabric by 2 inches. Okay, so this will actually serve as your shoulder line. So once you mark it, you are going to turn it into an horizontal line. Okay, so after marking the shoulder line, this line is actually going to serve as the shoulder line. I came down by 2 inches from the edge of my fabric. Then from that point, I'm going to mark the length of the gown. Okay, the length of the gown I'm working with. So the length of my gown is going to be 40.5. So from the shoulder line, I will mark 40.5. This will serve as the length of the dress I'm making. Okay, so on the shoulder line I'm going to mark the neck width I'm working with and the neck depth I'm working with. So first of all, we are drafting the back. After that, we are going to use this back to cut out the front. Okay, so like I told you, the back is going to be on fold while the front is going to be 2-piece because it will have a zipper at the front. So I'm going to draft the back first, and after that I'm going to use it to cut out the front. So the back width I'm working with is 3 inches and the depth is 1 inch. So I'm going to square it up like so. Then for the front, the neck depth I'm working with is 3 inches and the neck width I'm working with is 3 inches. So the front will be 3 inches by 3 inches, while the back neck depth will be 3 inches by 1 inch. Okay, so I'm going to connect my neck curve, both the front and back neck curve. After connecting the front and back neck curve, the next thing I'm going to do is to input my shoulder measurements. Okay, so I'm going to input half of my shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches. Then I'm going to add my sleeve extension, which is 7 inches. In total it's 15 inches. I hope you understand that. Okay, so from this point I'm going to come down by 1 inch shoulder slant, and I will use my pattern master to connect it like so. So after that, from this point I'm going to mark my chest line. So my chest line, the chest line I'm working with, to get your chest line, you divide your bust circumference by 6 plus 1.5. So after dividing the bust circumference I'm working with by 6, I have 8.1. Then whatever you have, you add extra 2 inches because this is a shift dress, it's a free dress. So 8.1 plus 2 inches, I have 10.1. So from this point I'm going to mark down 10.1. okay, then I'm going to connect it with a straight horizontal line. So after that, I'm going to bring down whatever I have on this shoulder. I will bring it down to the chest line. So I have 15 inches. I'm going to bring down 15 inches like so. Then I'm just going to come in by half inch so that it won't be entirely straight. Then I'll connect my chest line. So from this point to that half inch I came in. So I'm going to connect it like that. Guys, after connecting my chest line, the next thing I'm going to input is my waist length. Okay, my front length. So the front length I'm working with is 16.5. I'm just going to input it, and I'm also going to connect that with a straight horizontal line. So after that, I'm also going to input my hip line. So I'm simply marking 9 inches from the waistline. That will serve as my hip line, and I will connect it with a straight horizontal line. After marking the waistline, hip line, the next thing I'm going to do is to input the circumference of what I'm working with. Okay, so I'm actually using the biggest measurement. Okay, so the biggest measurement I'm working with here is the hip circumference. So I'm going to divide the hip circumference by 4, and I will add extra 2 inches. This 2 inches is 1 inch for ease and 1 inch for seam allowance. So I'm going to input these measurements on the bust line, waistline, and hip line. This is actually a free dress, it's not a fitted dress. That is why I'm inputting it on all these lines. Okay, so the hip measurements I'm working with is 43 divided by 4. I have 10.75. I'm going to mark 10.75 on the chest line, and I will add 1 inch seam allowance and 1 inch ease allowance. Okay, I will do the same thing on the waistline and the hip line and also the hem line. So I will mark it like so. I will also input the same measurements on my hem line. Okay, so after that I'm going to connect these lines. So I'm going to connect this line with an horizontal line. Okay, so in order to connect this armhole, I'm just going to come down by 2 inches from the chest line. So I'm going to come down 2 inches or 2.5 inches below the chest line, and I will get my curve ruler and just make a slight curve. So I'm just going to put my curve ruler from this point to this point, and I will just make my slight curve. So guys, after connecting this curve, the next thing I'm going to do is to add 1/2 inch seam allowance on the chest line, this armhole line. Then I'll add 1/2 inch seam allowance on the shoulder slant for joining, and also on the neck line. Okay, after adding the seam allowance, the next thing is to cut it out. So I will cut it out and we will use it to cut the front pattern. So guys, you can see I have cut out the back and I have placed it on another fabric that I fold. So we are going to cut out the front. First of all, I marked out 1 inch, which will serve as the zipper allowance. Then I placed the back after that 1 inch. So I'm going to cut this out and later adjust the neckline for the front, because the front neckline is actually deeper than the back neckline. So let's cut this out. So guys, after cutting it out, this is how it looks. The next thing I'm going to do is to use these fabrics to cut out the lining. So I will use the back to cut out the lining of the back, and I will use the front to cut out the lining of the front, and I'll be back to show you guys what next. So guys, I have cut the lining of both the front and the back. So I will keep the back and let's work on the front. Okay, so this is actually the long strap that I'm going to place after the zipper allowance on the front. So all you have to do is to cut. The length should match with the length of this dress, and the width I cut out 3.5 inches and I fold in 1/2 inch on both sides to get this. Okay, so go ahead and do the same for yours. Yeah, so I'm going to keep the lining aside and I will set the front so that I can pin down this black stuff in the front of my dress. So guys, you can see I have placed this black strap properly on the front bodice. Okay, so I placed it just after the 1-inch zipper allowance. So I'll go to my sewing machine and I will sew it down, and I will be back to show you guys what next. After placing the black strap, I've gone to sew it down on my sewing machine. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to get the lining and place it on the right side of my fabric. So guys, I have placed the lining on top of the main dress. Okay, so go ahead and do the same for yours, and you also make sure that your lining is shorter than your main dress. So since we added 1 inch for the hemming allowance, that means we are going to drag this up with the 1 inch. Okay, so I made this lining shorter by 2 inches so that by the time we sew it and drag it up, it's going to rhyme to this. I hope you understand what I said. So I'll go ahead and join it at the hem, then I'll be back to show you guys what. So guys, you can see that I have sewn this together with the lining. What next I'm going to do is to pull the cloth down like this. So I'll make sure that it rhymes with the 1 inch hemming allowance, because I want to turn this zip side. So once I pull it like this, I'll go to my sewing machine and sew the zip side, so that by the time we turn it, we will hide the rough edges. Okay, so guys, you can see that I have sewn this just like I showed you guys. The next thing I'm going to do now is to turn it out, and I will give it a good press. Okay, so once I turn it out, this is how neat it's going to look at the zipper side. Can you see that? Yeah. So I will turn this other one out and I will give it a good press. So for the back, I'm just going to get the lining for the back, and I will also place the lining on the right side of the back. Okay, I'm going to do basically what I did for the front. I'm just going to place the lining on the right side, and I will go ahead and sew it. And once I sew it, I will also drag it by that 1 inch hemming allowance, just like we did for the front, and I will give it a good press, and I will be back to show you guys what next. So guys, I've sewn the lining on the right side of this dress. What I'm going to do is to flip the lining over to the wrong side of this dress. Once I flip it over, then I'm going to drag this down by that 1 inch. Okay, I'll make sure that what I have there is up to 1 inch, then I'll just pin it down. Okay, so this is basically what we did for the front. We are doing the same thing on the back. So once I pin it down, what I'm going to do is to adjust this lining. I will adjust it very well to meet up, then I'll top stitch the lining. So I'll top stitch on the lining. Okay, I'll just go to my sewing machine and hold this together. Yeah. So guys, I have joined the lining and the bodice together by simply top stitching on it. Okay, so you should go ahead and do the same thing for yours. If you have a weaving machine by your side, you also weave the neckline, weave it round. So I've done that. So what next I'm going to do is to join the center front together like this, right side facing each other. I'm going to join it by 1 inch, and I will stop somewhere at the waist. Okay, where I want my zip to end, that is where I'm going to stop. Then I'll fit my zip at the front. You should go ahead and do same for yours. Then after facing the zip at the front, the next thing I'm going to do is to get my back bodice, and I will join it at the shoulder. Okay, I will join both of them at the shoulder by ½ inch. I will do that, and I will come back to show you guys what next. So guys, I have put my zip as I told you guys, and this is how beautiful it's looking. And I've also joined it at the shoulder line. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do now is to join the turn up at the hand and also join the collar at the neck. So all you have to do is to, this will serve as the turn up. So this is 4 inches width, and the length should be the total length of where you are going to place this turn up. Okay, so you go ahead and cut 4 inches width, and when you cut it, the length I cut out is the length I have here. It's 26 inches. Okay, so you measure where you are putting this turn up, that will serve as the length of what you are going to cut. So when you cut it, you fold in ½ inch on both sides. So I fold in ½ inch on both sides, and I also iron this. So once you fold it and iron it, then you turn it again and iron it again. So this is the first one I did. So once you fold it on both sides, ½ inch on both sides, you are going to pin it down from the inside. So from the wrong side of the fabric, you are going to pin it down. You see how I pin this down? This is hemming gun because this fabric actually is not staying one place, so I just place hemming gun so that it can hold this by the time I will turn it. So you can see how I pin this from the inside. All you have to do is to pin it. Then once you pin it and sew it down, so once you pin it and sew it down like this, then you are going to turn it out like this. So you are going to flip it over like this to cover this seam. Okay, then you top stitch. So after top stitching, all you have to do is to just turn it like this. Okay, once you turn it like this, you are just going to use your hemming gun to make it stay, and that way we have our turn up sleeve. I hope you understand what I said. If you don't understand any explanation here, you always ask your question. I'm ready to answer your questions. Okay, so this is the turn up. Okay, all you have to do is to flip your fabric the wrong side like this, and you pin it down. Okay, once you pin it down, you sew it down. Once you sew it down, you are going to flip it over to the front just to cover the seam line at the front. You also sew it down. Once you sew it down, you now turn it and use your hemming gun to hold it. This is very, very explanatory, but if you don't understand it, ask your questions. Okay, yeah. And for the collar, I cut out 1.5 inches, and the length will be the total of what I have on my neckline. So I cut out 1.5 inches width and the length, the total length of what I have on my neckline, and I go ahead to turn it and to sew it and turn it so that this place will have a neat finishing, and I also go ahead to weave it. So all you have to do is to grab your neckline, and I'm just going to trim off this excess of the zip, and I'm just going to pin it down very well like I'm showing you guys. So once I pin it down, and I'm going to sew it. So I'll go and do all this, and I will be back to show you guys what next. So guys, I have joined the collar, and this is how beautiful it's looking. I'm already feeling this sheep dress, guys. So this is how beautiful it's looking, and I've also joined the turn up at the sleeve. Okay, so if you actually don't want to turn yours off, you can leave it like this, but for me, I'm going to turn it off. Okay, so all I'm just going to do, you can top stitch just light, or you can use your hemming gun. Okay, you can use your hemming gun, iron it down just to hold it down. So I'll go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to flip this over, and I'll iron it down. So after that, I'm going to trim off this excess. Then after that, the next thing I'm going to do is to join it at the side. So I'll go ahead and do all this, and I will come back to show you guys the final outfit. This is really, really beautiful, guys. Are you feeling it? If you don't understand anything I explain here, kindly drop your question on the comment section. I will attend to that. Okay. Okay guys, this is the final outcome of our beautiful outfit. I'm so excited. You can see that we really brought this design to life and it's so beautiful. So the next thing I'm going to do is to put in the button, so a cover button. I actually did a tutorial on how you can do your own cover button, so I'll be using the Ankara fabric to do a cover button so that I can use it to design the neckline and also the sleeve, just like I did here. And that's all. After that, I'm going to put it on the dummy so that you can see the final outlook. Alright guys, if you've not subscribed to my channel, kindly do so. It will really mean a lot to me. Okay, thank you. I will see you in the next one. Bye.